Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and, well, we began the year with an MLP-related Media Wiz video, so we're in the middle of the year now, and I figured it'd be appropriate to do yet another MLP video. And this was requested to me and a couple of the other guys. I think it was first for Pony Fanboy, but we're talking about the MLP manga. If you want to see a video talking about Volume 1, Pony Fanboy already did it. So I'm just going to kind of go over a few things from Volume 1, but this is primarily looking at Volume 2. And then, who knows, one of us, maybe the two of us, I don't know, maybe somebody else, maybe Future Wiz maybe, can talk about it for sidekicks or whatever that show's called. This right here is the omnibus, which means that it's a collection of all the different volumes of the manga, and this is 3 volumes put into one book. So each of the volumes are broken down into 8 chapters, so just like with the first one, this one is also 8 chapters long. But unlike the first one, this is actually a continuing story, and each chapter has this overarching story that goes from chapter to chapter, versus the first one, which was just kind of a series of different stories interspersed in between each other, though they actually do carry over certain things from the first volume into this one. The biggest thing that they continue is they bring back Doctor Hooves and Derpy as their Doctor Who parody, basically. Doctor Hooves is obviously supposed to be the Doctor, and Derpy is his companion, who travels alongside him inside a giant muffin-shaped TARDIS. And the other character that they have here is, she's on the back here, a Star Dancer. And in the first volume, in chapter 7, they established that she is a time traveler. Everybody thinks that she's a space alien, or as they call it, an extra-equestrial, which I thought was kind of funny. But she's actually a time traveler, and you don't really know that much about her in the first volume. She only shows up in 2 chapters. Here, they actually give her a fully fledged backstory, and I'm assuming that they're going to continue to flesh out her character in the third volume. What the big story of this volume of the manga is, it's basically Groundhog's Day meets an episode of Doctor Who. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What happens is, Pinkie Pie wakes up the day before some big festival is coming to town, and everybody's preparing. You have Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy practicing their flight, Rarity is getting outfits prepared, Applejack and her family are working on some kind of big banquet to go with the festival, and Twilight is messing around with some kind of ancient artifact. It becomes a plot point a little bit later, but for now, the first chapter basically shows Pinkie being very excited for all of this, and then the next chapter it shows that the day is now repeating, very similar to Groundhog's Day and Happy Death Day, and that one Equestria Girl special that did the same thing too. Pinkie is going around and realizing that she's reliving the same day, and then in the third chapter they have it that she's trying to break the time loop in some way, but she doesn't know how, and they do everything. Just like in Groundhog's Day when Bill Murray snaps the pencil and then the next day it's fixed, Pinkie goes around at night and paints mustaches on everybody, and then she wakes up and they're all gone. She tries leaving town, again, very similar to Groundhog's Day. She tries leaving Ponyville on the Friendship Express, but then she wakes up and realizes that the time loop is basically unbreakable, as it seems. I like how in one of the beginnings of the chapters, she goes to the smartest person she knows, and that's Mrs. Cake. And Mrs. Cake actually surprisingly knows what to do. She's not questioning any of this because I guess she's lived with Pinkie for so long. She's just like, oh yeah, time loop, you're reliving the same day. Well, did you mess with some kind of ancient artifact, dearie? And Pinkie realizes that the ancient artifact is the mechanical ball thing that Twilight was examining. So Pinkie goes to Twilight, and Twilight thinks she's crazy at first, but then she unloads all this information that she's learned over the same repeating day that's been going on for God knows how long. And so Twilight believes her, and just as they start to get somewhere, day resets again. And when she organizes all of her friends to try and help, Pinkie says everything that they're about to say, and my favorite thing is that she's got this so down-packed, she actually repeats various things that Rainbow Dash was going to say. There it is right there. I just wanted to highlight that. That's really funny. Wonderbolts, Sonic Rainboom, Banana Pudding. Also really clever is in the previous chapter, they try to ask Celestia for help, and how they do this is not by writing Celestia a letter or anything like that, asking if she can come over as soon as possible. Pinkie kidnaps Celestia and Luna in a sack. And what's funny is when the day resets, it shows that Pinkie has to go back to Canterlot and kidnap them again. And in the little corner, there's a little bubble that says attempt number 16, implying Pinkie has done this so many times. And she's dressed as a ninja, and she's plummeting on top of Celestia, and she's just like, "Oh, hi, Pinkie Pie," and Pinkie is donned in ninja attire with a butterfly net. This is one of those things where I'm like, alright, yeah, for the sake of the story, I get it, you know, that Celestia and Luna, despite being essentially gods in this show's canon, they don't know how to break this simple time loop. And Twilight, who is the Princess of Magic, of course she can't figure it out either. And they even consider asking Discord, but Twilight and Celestia say, that might be a little risky. And I'm like, you know what? Discord has, like, phenomenal cosmic power. If anybody can fix this, it might be him. But, of course, then we wouldn't have a story. And also it's revealed that it's not really magic like Twilight's, it's science magic like Doctor Hooves. So Pinkie then goes to the doc and Derpy, and they say that they might be able to help no matter how many times the day keeps resetting, because Pinkie remembers that the first day of this time loop, before everything started repeating, she saw Doctor Hooves and Derpy wandering around when Applejack was, you know, pushing an apple cart. So she thinks that maybe they can help. So she goes to them, and they deduce the juice that it must be that Star Dancer character, because Pinkie thought that she was a space alien, but then they go to her house, and it seems normal at first, but then they end up wandering into a pocket dimension that she created, which is proof that she's a time traveler. And the Doc also knows this because he recognizes a lot of her technology is similar to what we can only assume is Time Lord technology. So once they get to this pocket dimension, which is basically a giant office building kind of thing with like a creepy laboratory in the back room, we find out that Star Dancer is working for the arch nemesis of Doctor Hooves, who is the Professor, or she calls him the Master. Now, that might be an unintentional reference. That might be completely intentional. Either way, I thought it was really funny. You know, it's like, oh, it's another Time Lord pony who comes from space and time and big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And you know, he has the same kind of technology. He's the arch enemy of the Doctor. And there's also a Who's on First routine, because Pinkie says, you know, Professor, I thought you were a doctor. No, I'm the Doctor. Doctor who? No, that's Hooves. No, what? No, I'm what? He's who? It's very clear that he wants to wipe out his adversary. He wants to take out the Doctor and his companion, Derpy, who actually has, like, consistent lines all throughout this thing, which, you know, if you're one of those OG bronies who's kept up with all this stuff and, you know, been there since, like, Derpy Gate and all that kind of thing, you're gonna like the fact that Derpy is a main character in this. He tries to stop this machine that's keeping the Doctor and Derpy contained in a time bubble, and they even make a joke about, oh, they're in time out because the bubble keeps time out. Get it? But Pinkie tries to stop him, then they have a back and forth, and then this machine ends up going haywire, and now everybody goes scattered across a bunch of different planes of time and space. Pinkie Pie ends up in what is basically France during the revolutionary times, because they make a very blatant reference to Marie Antoinette's Let Them Eat Cake. And everyone talks with an exaggerated French accent. They have characters say things like zat instead of that, and do eat, they spell it as E-E-T. So everybody has like exaggerated French accents, and they're ready to put Pinkie into a guillotine because she dare say let them eat cake at a time where people can't even afford bread. So while that's going on, this then pans over to a couple of the other dimensions where the other people went. You have the Doctor and the Master, who end up in some kind of carrot-flavored river, which then pans out, and we see that it's a soup that a gigantic Fluttershy is going to be giving to a bedridden, sick Angel Bunny. So, how are they going to get out of this one? First, Derpy looks like she's in some kind of, like, snowy wasteland, but then it pans out and she's inside of a snow globe, which is the same snow globe that Pinkie was messing with when she went to see Cranky Doodle in the Season 2 episode, A Friend Indeed. Because if you remember that episode, there's a part where Pinkie shakes one of his souvenir snow globe things, and floating around is a little Derpy. So that was the reason that a little Derpy was floating around in that. In the words of Silverquill, continuity. This is pretty much where this volume ends, and I'm assuming it carries over into volume 3, because I did peep a little bit of volume 3, and it seems that they actually do continue the story. So volume 1, while it does set up a few key things, is more of a slice of life comedy kind of manga in comparison to the rest of it, which does have an overarching story. Overall, I really enjoyed this volume. I thought that the artwork was really good. I thought a lot of the little in-jokes and references to the show were neat. It was kind of cool to see them kind of mess around with the whole idea of a Doctor Who story mixed with elements of Groundhog's Day. I mean, like, yeah, they did technically do that in the franchise. They did that with the Equestria Girls special, except there it was Sunset who was reliving the day over and over again until she broke the time loop. But still, it was very entertaining here. I do like when stories can do this kind of thing properly. Like, I really love Groundhog's Day, and I really enjoy the Happy Death Day movies. The second one kind of verges away from that, but the first one I still really enjoyed. And my favorite fan characters was always Doctor Hooves, because I do like Doctor Who a lot. So I like the fact that they were able to kind of do a story like that. And the fact that you have an evil Doctor Hooves who's pretty much a stand-in for the Master, I liked that. That was neat. It was cool to see Star Dancer again. Overall, yeah, I really enjoyed this manga, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes. Tune in next time for a game review. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it's a game based on a very shortly lived CG cartoon that was actually pretty good, and it's a PC game, so it's not going to be on GameCube or Wii or one of the consoles that I do almost all the time. But until then, guys, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.